The hotel receipt fell out of Marissa's purse like a confession written in expensive ink. $237 at the Austin Marriott Spa, charged to our joint credit card, signed with my initials in handwriting that definitely wasn't mine. I'm Owen Talbot, 42 years old, and I've been a paramedic for Austin EMS for 18 years. I've seen people lie about everything from drug overdoses to domestic violence, so I know the signs. The nervous laughter, the defensive posture, the way someone's story changes just slightly each time they tell it. My wife Marissa had been showing all those signs for months. Before we dive deeper into this story, I have one small request. Please subscribe, drop a like, comment, and hit that hype button to boost this channel so more people can discover these incredible Reddit stories. "Owen, you're being paranoid," she'd said when I asked about the late nights. "Real estate is competitive. These clients want to see properties at all hours." "Real estate?" "Right." Marissa had been Austin's top residential agent for 3 years running, pulling in commissions that made my paramedic salary look like pocket change. She drove a white BMW, wore designer clothes, and had the kind of confident smile that could sell a flooded house in hurricane season. But lately, that smile had been directed at her phone more than at me. I sat in our kitchen, holding the receipt, listening to her shower upstairs. Steam drifted down from the bathroom, carrying the scent of some new perfume I didn't recognize. Expensive stuff, the kind that came in little black bottles with French names. Our daughters, Sophie and Mia, were at school. The house felt hollow without their chatter, just the sound of water running and my own breathing. I'd been on a 48-hour shift when this spa visit happened, pulled 3 cardiac arrests and a motorcycle accident while my wife was getting a couples massage. The signature on the receipt was a decent forgery of my initials, but whoever wrote it pressed too hard with the pen. Marissa always had a heavy hand when she was nervous. My phone buzzed. Text from Travis, my paramedic partner. "Rough night. Kid wrapped his car around a tree on 35. Remind me why we do this job?" I typed back, "Because we're too stupid to quit." Travis had been my partner for 6 years. He knew about the marital problems without me having to spell them out. When your wife stops packing you lunch and starts working weekends, it doesn't take a detective to connect the dots. The shower turned off upstairs. I folded the receipt and slipped it into my wallet, next to my EMS badge and a photo of the girls from last Christmas. In the picture, we all looked happy. Marissa's arm around my waist, Sophie and Mia grinning with chocolate on their faces. That was 4 months ago. Before the late-night phone calls and the mysterious client dinners. "Owen, you home?" Marissa called down. "In the kitchen," I replied, pouring coffee into my Austin EMS mug. Black, no sugar. The way I'd been drinking it since I was 24 and too broke to buy cream. She appeared in the doorway wearing a silk robe that cost more than my monthly truck payment. Her dark hair was wet, and she had that post-shower glow that used to make me forget whatever we'd been arguing about. "How was your shift?" she asked, not quite meeting my eyes. 3 saves, 1 loss, the usual. I sipped my coffee. "How was your spa day?" For just a second, her face went blank. Then the smile clicked back into place. What spa day?" I could have confronted her right then, thrown the receipt on the granite countertop and demanded answers. But 18 years of emergency medicine had taught me patience. You don't rush into a burning building without knowing where the exits are. "Must have mixed you up with someone else," I said. "Travis mentioned his wife went to some fancy place downtown." "Oh." She relaxed slightly. "Well, I should get ready, showing a house in Westlake at 10. Westlake, where Austin's tech millionaires bought their McMansions. Marissa specialized in high-end properties, the kind with infinity pools and wine cellars. She was good at it, too. Could walk into a 7-figure listing and make the buyers feel like they were getting a steal." "Another weekend showing?" I asked. "The market doesn't sleep, honey." She kissed the top of my head, a quick peck that felt more like a business transaction than affection. "I'll probably be late tonight. Big client." After she left, I sat alone with my coffee and the receipt. The Marriott Spa offered couples packages, massages, facials, champagne and private suites, the kind of place you took someone you wanted to impress. I pulled out my phone and called the spa. "Marriott Spa Services, this is Jessica." "Hi, I was in yesterday for a couple's package, and I think I left my watch in the room. Could you check for me? The name would be under Talbot." "Let me look." "Yes, mister. Talbot, I have the appointment right here. 2 o'clock couples massage with Troy Foster. I don't see any lost items logged, but I can transfer you to housekeeping." Troy Foster. I thanked Jessica and hung up before she could transfer me. Troy Foster owned a gym in South Austin called Apex Fitness. I'd driven past it 100 times on my way to work. Big windows, expensive equipment, and a parking lot full of luxury cars. The kind of place where personal trainers charge $200 an hour to tell rich housewives how to do squats. I'd never heard Marissa mention Troy Foster, but then again, she'd been mentioning a lot of new names lately. Clients, she always said. People with money to spend on Austin real estate. My phone rang. Unknown number. Owen Talbot? Speaking. My name is Elena Foster. I think we need to talk. The voice was calm, professional, with just a hint of Texas drawl. The kind of voice that belonged to someone who was used to being taken seriously. About what? About your wife and my husband. I'm at Mozart's Coffee on Lake Austin. Can you meet me in 20 minutes? Mozart's was a local institution, a coffee shop built on the lake with outdoor seating and a view of the water. I'd taken Marissa there on our first date, back when we were both young and broke and thought love was enough to pay the bills. How do I know this isn't some kind of setup? I asked. Because if it was a setup, I wouldn't have spent 3 weeks documenting their affair with a private investigator. The line went quiet. In the distance, I could hear a siren. Probably one of my colleagues heading to another emergency, another family's worst day. 20 minutes, I said. Mozart's was crowded with the usual Saturday morning crowd. Joggers in expensive athletic wear, families with strollers, college students hunched over laptops. I spotted Elena Foster immediately. She sat alone at a corner table, wearing dark jeans and a simple white blouse. Her black hair was pulled back in a ponytail, and she had the kind of natural beauty that didn't need much makeup. She also had a manila folder thick with papers. Owen? She stood as I approached. Thank you for coming. I sat across from her, studying her face. She had the same calm expression I'd heard in her voice, but there was steel underneath, the kind of controlled anger that came from being betrayed by someone you trusted. So, I said, your husband is Troy Foster. For 12 more days. Then he'll be my ex-husband. She opened the folder and slid a photograph across the table. This was taken Thursday afternoon at the Marriott. The photo showed Marissa and a man I didn't recognize walking into the hotel lobby, her hand on his arm. He was tall, muscular, with the kind of artificial tan that came from expensive salons. Designer jeans, expensive watch, the whole package. That's Troy, Elena said. And before you ask, yes, I have more. She slid over another photo. Marissa and Troy in the hotel restaurant, leaning across the table toward each other. Her hand covering his, both of them laughing like teenagers. How long? I asked. 3 months that I can prove. Probably longer. Elena's voice was steady, but I could see her hands trembling slightly. I hired a private investigator after I found text messages on his phone, explicit ones. What kind of text messages? She pulled out a printed sheet. I'll spare you the worst ones, but here's a sample. Can't wait to see you in that black dress tonight, the one that drives me crazy. I recognized the dress. Marissa had bought it 2 months ago, said it was for a client appreciation dinner. $500 for something that looked like it belonged in a nightclub, not a business meeting. There are dozens more, Elena continued. Hotel reservations, restaurant receipts, even a weekend trip to San Antonio that Troy told me was a fitness conference. And Marissa told me she was at a real estate seminar. I felt something cold settling in my stomach. What do you want from me? I want them both to pay for what they've done, but I want to do it right. Legally, financially, socially, I want them to lose everything that matters to them. Elena Foster wasn't just angry. She was strategic. I could see it in the way she'd organized the evidence, the careful documentation, the fact that she'd tracked down the betrayed husband instead of just confronting her cheating spouse. What's your plan? I asked. Troy thinks he's smarter than everyone else. He's been hiding assets, moving money around, thinking I won't notice because I'm just the pretty wife who doesn't understand business. She smiled, and it wasn't a pleasant expression. I work in cybersecurity, Owen. I understand business just fine. And Marissa? Your wife has been using your joint accounts to fund their affair. Hotel rooms, expensive dinners, even jewelry. I have the receipts. She slid over another stack of papers. Credit card statements, bank records, even photos of Marissa wearing earrings I'd never seen before. This is a lot of evidence for 3 weeks of investigation, I said. I'm thorough when I'm angry. Elena leaned back in her chair. The question is, are you ready to get angry too? I looked at the photos again. Marissa's face in the restaurant picture, glowing with happiness I hadn't seen at home in months. Troy's hand on her back as they walked into the hotel, casual and possessive. What did you have in mind? Elena Foster's apartment was nothing like what I'd expected. Clean lines, minimal furniture, and enough computer equipment to run a small tech company. 3 monitors displayed what looked like financial records, email logs, and security camera footage. "Welcome to my war room," she said, gesturing to the setup. "Coffee? Please?" I was running on about 4 hours of sleep and pure adrenaline. She handed me a mug and pulled up a chair next to the monitors. "Before we go any further, I need to know you're serious about this. What I'm proposing isn't just confronting them. It's dismantling their lives piece by piece." "I'm listening." "Troy has been embezzling from our joint business account to pay for his lifestyle. Expensive gifts for your wife, hotel rooms, even a lease on a sports car he thinks I don't know about." She clicked through several screens of financial data. "I've been documenting everything, but I haven't reported it yet." "Why not?" "Because if I report it now, he gets arrested, spends a few months in minimum security prison, and walks away with his reputation intact. Poor Troy, driven to crime by his frigid wife." Elena's voice was bitter. "I want him ruined, not martyred." I studied the financial records. Troy had been siphoning money systematically, small amounts that would be hard to notice unless you knew what to look for, but they added up to nearly $50,000 over 6 months. "What about Marissa?" "Your wife is more careful, but not careful enough." Elena pulled up another screen. "She's been using your joint credit cards for the affair, but she's smart about it. Mixed in with legitimate business expenses, spread across multiple cards, a hotel room billed as a client meeting, expensive dinners listed as business entertainment." "She's been writing it off on our taxes," I realized. "Exactly, which means she's been committing tax fraud to hide her adultery." Elena smiled grimly. "I love it when criminals make my job easier." I leaned back in my chair, processing the information. As a paramedic, I was used to making quick decisions under pressure, but this was different. This was planning, strategy, the kind of long-term thinking that didn't come naturally to someone who spent his days responding to emergencies. "What's your timeline?" I asked. 2 weeks. Troy thinks he's being clever, but he's predictable. Every Tuesday and Thursday, he tells me he's training a private client. Instead, he's meeting your wife at various hotels around Austin. Marissa's been working late those same nights. Of course she has. Elena pulled up a calendar on one of her monitors. "I've tracked their pattern. They're creatures of habit, which makes them vulnerable." "Vulnerable how?" "Thursday night, they're planning to meet at the Four Seasons. Presidential suite. Troy's been bragging about it in his text messages to Marissa." She showed me a printed conversation that made my stomach turn. "He thinks he's treating her to something special. And we're going to be there. We're going to be there with cameras, witnesses, and legal documentation that will destroy both of their lives." Elena's voice was calm, but her eyes were fierce. "By the time we're done, Troy will be facing criminal charges, and your wife will be explaining to the IRS why she claimed adultery as a business expense." My phone buzzed. Text from Marissa. "Working late again tonight. Don't wait up." It was Tuesday. According to Elena's research, that meant Marissa was with Troy right now, probably at some hotel downtown, using our money to pay for the room. "I want to see them," I said. "Tonight?" "Right now." Elena hesitated. "That's not part of the plan. If they see us together, it could compromise everything. I need to see it with my own eyes. I need to know this is real." She studied my face for a long moment, then nodded. "Okay, but we do this my way. No confrontations, no dramatic scenes. We observe, we document, and we leave." "Agreed." The Driscoll Hotel was Austin's oldest luxury hotel, all marble floors and crystal chandeliers, the kind of place where oil executives closed deals and politicians held fundraisers. Also, apparently, where cheating spouses met for afternoon affairs. Elena and I sat in the lobby bar, nursing expensive cocktails and pretending to be business associates. She changed into a professional-looking dress and pulled her hair back. With her laptop open and papers spread across the table, we looked like any other Austin professionals discussing a deal. "There," Elena said quietly. Marissa walked through the lobby like she owned the place, her heels clicking on the marble floor. She wore the black dress from the text messages, the one that had cost $500 of our joint money. Behind her, Troy Foster looked exactly like his photos. Tall, tan, and smug. They didn't see us. Why would they? They were focused on each other, laughing at some private joke as they headed toward the elevators. "Room 847, Elena said, watching them through the reflection in her laptop screen. "I hacked the hotel's reservation system this morning." "You can do that?" "Cybersecurity consultant, remember? I know how to break into systems and how to protect them." She took a sip of her martini. "It's all about knowing where to look." We waited 20 minutes, then took the elevator to the 8th floor. Elena had a small camera that looked like a pen, and she positioned herself near the door while I kept watch down the hallway. "Got it," she whispered after a few minutes. "Audio and video. They're not exactly being quiet in there." I didn't want to hear the details. Seeing Marissa walk into that hotel room with another man was enough. The woman I'd been married to for 15 years, the mother of my daughters, was in there with a stranger, using our money to pay for the privilege. "Let's go," I said. Back in Elena's apartment, she uploaded the footage to her computer and added it to what was already an impressive collection of evidence: photos, financial records, hotel receipts, text messages, and now video proof of the affair. "This is enough to destroy them both," she said, "but I want to be strategic about how we use it." "What do you mean?" "If we just confront them with the evidence, they'll lawyer up and try to minimize the damage. Troy will claim temporary insanity. Marissa will say she was confused and lonely. They'll paint themselves as victims of their own emotions. Elena pulled up a legal document on her screen. "But if we let them dig themselves deeper first, if we give them enough rope to hang themselves, then we can destroy them completely." "How?" "Thursday night, the Four Seasons. We let them have their big romantic evening, and then we spring the trap. But not just us. I want witnesses. I want it public. I want them humiliated in front of people who matter to them." "What kind of witnesses?" "Troy's business partners, your wife's real estate colleagues, people with cameras and social media accounts." Elena's smile was predatory. "I want their affair to be the talk of Austin by Friday morning." I thought about it. The plan was elegant, thorough, and completely ruthless. It would destroy both of their careers, their reputations, and their financial security. It would also make it impossible for either of them to claim they were victims. "There's one problem," I said. "My daughters. They don't deserve to have their mother's affair splashed across social media." Elena's expression softened slightly. "How old are they?" 12 and 9. "We'll be careful about that. No photos of them, no mention of them in any public posts. This is about Troy and Marissa, not your children." "And what happens after? When it's all over?" "Troy goes to prison for embezzlement. Marissa loses her real estate license and probably faces tax fraud charges. Their affair becomes a cautionary tale that people tell at dinner parties." Elena closed her laptop. "And we move on with our lives." It sounded simple when she said it like that. Clean, logical, final. But I knew it wouldn't be that easy. Revenge never was. "I'm in," I said. Thursday evening, Elena and I sat in her car outside the Four Seasons, watching Austin's evening traffic crawl past on Cesar Chavez Street. She'd traded her usual casual clothes for something that looked like it cost more than my monthly salary. A tailored black suit that made her look like she belonged in boardrooms and courtrooms. "Remember," she said, checking her phone for the third time in 5 minutes, "we wait until they're settled in the room, then we make our move. No improvising, no emotional outbursts." "I've got it." I adjusted my tie, feeling like I was wearing a costume. Elena had insisted I dress the part. Expensive shirt, designer jacket, shoes that cost more than I usually spent on clothes in a year. "You sure your contacts will show up?" "Linda Martinez from Marissa's real estate office confirmed she'll be here. She's been suspicious about Marissa's client meetings for weeks." Elena's smile was sharp. Nothing like a little professional jealousy to motivate someone to witness a colleague's downfall. "And Troy's people?" "His business partner Jake will be in the bar downstairs. I told him Troy was meeting with potential investors and he might want to network." She showed me a text conversation on her phone. "He thinks he's getting a business opportunity." The plan was intricate, almost surgical in its precision. Elena had spent the week setting up what she called convergent witnesses, people who had legitimate reasons to be at the Four Seasons tonight, who would naturally want to document what they saw, and who would spread the story through Austin's interconnected business community. "There's Marissa," I said. My wife's white BMW pulled up to the valet stand. She stepped out wearing a red dress I'd never seen before, something that probably cost more than most people's rent. The valet took her keys with the kind of respectful attention that came from recognizing expensive taste. "She looks good," Elena said objectively. "I can see why Troy was attracted to her." "Thanks." "That wasn't meant to be cruel. I'm just observing." Elena's voice was clinical. Emotional attachment clouds judgment. We need to stay objective. Troy's black Mustang arrived 5 minutes later. He handed his keys to the same valet, who nodded like they were old friends. Regular customer, I realized. This wasn't their first time here. "Room 1247, Elena said, checking her phone. "Presidential suite. Troy's been bragging about it all week." We waited 15 minutes, then entered the hotel separately. The Four Seasons lobby was elegant in an understated way, all warm wood and soft lighting. Business travelers mixed with tourists, everyone moving with the quiet confidence that came from having money to spend. Elena had reserved a table in the restaurant on the 12th floor, just down the hall from the presidential suite, close enough to monitor the situation, far enough away to avoid suspicion. She'd also hacked the hotel's internal communication system so she could track housekeeping schedules and security rounds. "Linda's here," Elena said quietly, nodding toward the elevators. Linda Martinez was exactly what I'd expected from Marissa's descriptions. Mid-40s, perfectly styled blonde hair, and the kind of aggressive confidence that came from selling million-dollar properties to tech executives. She looked around the lobby like she was evaluating it for a listing. "She thinks she's meeting a client," Elena explained. "I sent her an anonymous tip about a potential seller who wanted to discuss a luxury property listing. And she'll just happen to be on the 12th floor when we confront them? She'll be in the hallway when the door to room 1247 opens and she sees her colleague, Marissa, with a man who isn't her husband." Elena's timing was precise. Human nature will take care of the rest. My phone buzzed. Text from Marissa. "Client dinner running late? Don't wait up. Love you." The casual lie stung more than I'd expected, not because I believed it, but because of how effortlessly she could send it. 15 years of marriage, and she could lie to me with the same ease she used to order coffee. "Jake's in the bar," Elena reported, watching her phone. "Troy's business partner. He's expecting to meet potential investors, but he'll be available if we need a witness to Troy's character." This feels like overkill. Overkill is the point. Elena's voice was matter-of-fact. We're not just exposing an affair. We're destroying their ability to control the narrative. By tomorrow morning, everyone in their professional circles will know exactly what happened. At 9:30, Elena received a text from her private investigator. "Subjects are in the room. Champagne delivered 20 minutes ago." "Time to go," she said. We took the elevator to the 12th floor. The hallway was empty except for a housekeeping cart near the far end. Elena had timed it perfectly. The cleaning staff would be witnesses if needed, but they were far enough away not to interfere. "Linda should be here any minute," Elena said, checking her watch. "I told her the seller would meet her outside room 1250 at 9:45. What if this goes wrong? It won't." Elena's confidence was absolute. "I've planned for every contingency." Linda Martinez stepped off the elevator at exactly 9:44, looking around with the slightly confused expression of someone who wasn't quite sure why she was there. She walked toward room 1250, checking her phone and muttering under her breath. "Now," Elena said. We walked to room 1247. Elena had a key card, another benefit of her cybersecurity skills, and she slid it through the lock with practiced ease. The door opened silently. The presidential suite was everything the hotel's website had promised. Panoramic views of Lady Bird Lake, a marble bathroom bigger than most apartments, and a living area that screamed luxury. Champagne glasses sat on the coffee table next to what looked like expensive lingerie still in shopping bags. Voices came from the bedroom. Marissa's laugh, Troy's deeper voice saying something I couldn't make out. They were completely oblivious to our presence. Elena had her camera ready, a professional-grade device that would capture everything in high definition. She positioned herself near the bedroom door while I stayed by the entrance, ready to block any escape attempts. "Marissa," I called out, "we need to talk." The voices stopped immediately. Then came the sound of frantic movement, whispered curses, the rustle of clothing being hastily put on. Marissa appeared in the bedroom doorway wearing a hotel robe, her hair disheveled, her face flushed with guilt and panic. Behind her, Troy was struggling to put on his shirt, his carefully maintained composure completely shattered. "Owen," Marissa said, her voice barely above a whisper. "What are you doing here?" "Apparently the same thing you are, except I'm not cheating on my spouse." Elena stepped forward, her camera capturing everything. "Hello, Troy." "Elena?" Troy's voice cracked. "How did you find you? It wasn't difficult. You're not as clever as you think you are." Linda Martinez chose that moment to walk past the open door, looking for her fictional client. She stopped, stared, and pulled out her phone with the reflexive speed of someone who understood the social media value of scandal. "Marissa?" Linda's voice was loud enough to carry down the hallway. "What the hell is going on?" "Linda, this isn't what it looks like," Marissa started, but even she seemed to realize how ridiculous that sounded. "It looks like you're in a hotel room with a man who isn't your husband, wearing nothing but a bathrobe," Linda said, her phone camera already recording. "What exactly should it look like?" Elena was documenting everything. The champagne, the lingerie, the hotel receipts scattered on the table, Troy's expensive watch next to Marissa's jewelry, evidence of a relationship that had been going on for months, funded by money stolen from their respective spouses. "This is a private matter," Troy said, trying to salvage some dignity. "You have no right to be here." "Actually, I have every right." Elena's voice was ice cold. "This suite was paid for with money you embezzled from our joint business account. That makes it my business." "And those champagne glasses were charged to our joint credit card," I added, looking at Marissa, "along with the lingerie and probably the dress you're wearing under that robe." Marissa's face went white. She'd been careful about hiding the affair, but she hadn't been careful enough about hiding the expenses. "We can explain," she said weakly. "I'm sure you can. You're good at explanations." I pulled out my phone and showed her the text she'd sent earlier. "Client dinner, right? Running late?" Linda was still recording, and I could see other hotel guests starting to notice the commotion. Elena had been right about human nature. Give people a scandal involving attractive, wealthy adults, and they'd document it themselves. "Owen, please," Marissa tried again. "Can we discuss this privately?" "Like you discussed your marriage privately with Troy?" I gestured around the suite. "This is private enough." Elena stepped closer to Troy, her camera still rolling. "How long has this been going on?" "Elena, I can explain." "How long?" 6 months, Troy admitted, his voice barely audible. 6 months of stealing money from our business to pay for hotel rooms and gifts for another man's wife." Elena's voice carried down the hallway, ensuring that Linda and the growing crowd of onlookers could hear every word. 6 months of lying to me while you played house with someone else's family." The elevator dinged, and Jake Morrison stepped out, Troy's business partner, looking around with confusion. Elena had timed it perfectly. Jake saw the crowd, the camera, his business partner standing in a hotel suite in disheveled clothing while his wife documented everything. "Troy?" Jake's voice was bewildered. "What's going on? I thought you were meeting with investors." "He was," Elena said coldly. "He was investing our money in his affair." The next few minutes were chaos. Marissa trying to explain, Troy attempting to leave, Linda broadcasting everything live on social media, Jake demanding answers about the business finances, and hotel security finally arriving to restore order. But the damage was done. By the time security cleared the hallway, Elena had hours of footage, Linda had posted the story to every real estate professional group in Austin, and Jake had seen enough to know his business partnership was over. "This isn't finished," Elena said quietly as we waited for the elevator. "What do you mean?" "This was just the opening move. Tomorrow the real work begins." The video went viral overnight. Not internet-famous viral, but Austin business community viral, which was somehow worse. By Friday morning, Linda Martinez's social media posts had been shared across every real estate, fitness, and professional networking group in the city. The hashtag #Sawn4Seasons affair was trending locally. I sat in my kitchen, scrolling through the comments on my phone while drinking coffee that had gone cold an hour ago. The girls were at school, thankfully unaware that their mother had become Austin's most talked-about adulteress in a single evening. "Isn't that Marissa Talbot from Platinum Properties?" "OMG, yes. She sold my neighbor's house last year, so professional LOL. Who's the guy? He's hot, but obviously a cheater." "Troy Foster. Owns that gym on South Lamar. My friend used to work out there." Elena called at 8:30. "Have you seen the Austin Business Journal website?" "No, should I?" Linda gave them an exclusive interview. "Affair rocks Austin's luxury real estate scene. It's the lead story." I pulled up the website on my laptop. There was Linda, photographed in front of $1 million listing, talking about professional ethics and the importance of trust in business relationships. She managed to work in several mentions of her own real estate services while expressing shock and disappointment about her colleagues' behavior. She's using this as a marketing opportunity, I realized. Of course she is. I told you, human nature is predictable. Elena sounded satisfied. But that's not why I called. Marissa's broker wants to meet with her this morning. Emergency meeting. How do you know that? I may have sent him an anonymous email with some of the financial evidence we collected, specifically the part about her writing off adultery expenses as business entertainment. Richard Hawthorne owned Platinum Properties, Austin's most prestigious real estate firm. His agents sold to celebrities, tech executives, and oil money from Houston, the kind of clientele that valued discretion above everything else. He's going to fire her, I said. He's going to fire her publicly. I made sure the meeting is scheduled during their weekly staff meeting when all the other agents will be there. Elena's revenge was methodical, surgical. She wasn't just destroying Marissa and Troy. She was making their destruction a public spectacle that would serve as a warning to others. My phone rang. Marissa. "Don't answer," Elena advised. I answered anyway. "Owen, we need to talk." Marissa's voice was strained, exhausted. She'd probably been up all night dealing with the fallout. I think we talked enough last night. Please, not about us, about the girls. They're going to hear about this at school. She was right. Austin's social circles were interconnected, and gossip traveled fast. Sophie and Mia would hear whispers, see other parents looking at them with pity or curiosity. They'd become the children of that woman, the one who had the affair. Where are you? I asked. At home. I've been here all night. I'll be there in 20 minutes. Elena wasn't happy about the detour, but she understood. Don't let her manipulate you, she warned. Marissa's going to try to make this about the children, about protecting the family. Don't let her rewrite history. Marissa was waiting in our living room, still wearing the clothes from the night before. Her makeup was smeared, her hair uncombed, and she looked smaller somehow, diminished by the weight of her exposed secrets. Thank you for coming, she said. This is my house. I don't need your permission to be here. She flinched. Owen, I know you're angry. Angry? I laughed, but there was no humor in it. Marissa, angry is what I felt when you started working late every night. Angry is what I felt when you bought expensive clothes and claimed they were for client meetings. What I feel now is something else entirely. What do you want me to say? I want you to tell me how long you've been stealing from our joint accounts to pay for your affair. I want you to explain how you justified writing off hotel rooms and jewelry as business expenses. I want you to help me understand how the woman I married turned into someone who could lie so easily. Marissa sat down heavily on the couch we'd bought together 5 years ago, when her real estate career was taking off and we thought we had everything figured out. It wasn't supposed to happen, she said quietly. What wasn't supposed to happen? The affair or getting caught? Any of it. She looked up at me with red-rimmed eyes. Troy was just a client at first. He wanted to buy a house in Westlake, something impressive for his business. We started having lunch meetings, then dinner meetings. He was charming, attentive. He made me feel interesting. And I didn't. You made me feel safe, stable, but not interesting. The words hit like a physical blow. Owen, you're a good man. You're a good father. But you're not exciting. So you decided to steal from our family to fund excitement with someone else. I never meant for it to go that far. The expenses just accumulated. A dinner here, a hotel room there. I kept telling myself it was temporary, that I'd figure out how to pay it back. $50,000, Marissa. You spent $50,000 of our money on another man. Her face went white. How do you know the exact amount? Elena's been tracking everything. Every hotel room, every dinner, every piece of jewelry you bought with money that was supposed to pay for our daughter's college funds. Elena. Marissa's voice turned bitter. That woman is psychotic. She broke into a hotel room, Owen. She stalked us, violated our privacy. She exposed your lies. There's a difference. My phone buzzed. Text from Elena. Marissa's meeting with her broker started 10 minutes ago. She's not there. I showed Marissa the message. You're supposed to be at Platinum Properties right now. I can't face them, not after last night. You're going to have to face them eventually, and the IRS, and probably a divorce attorney. Owen, please. I know I made mistakes, but we can work through this. For the girls. Don't. My voice was sharper than I'd intended. Don't use Sophie and Mia to justify what you did. They deserve better than parents who lie to each other. So that's it? 15 years of marriage and you're just giving up? I'm not the one who gave up, Marissa. I'm just the one who got tired of pretending everything was fine while you spent our savings on someone else. She started crying then, not the elegant tears of someone who cried prettily, but the ugly, desperate sobs of someone whose carefully constructed life was falling apart. Part of me wanted to comfort her, to fall back into the familiar role of the supportive husband who fixed problems and absorbed pain. But Elena was right. Marissa wasn't crying because she was sorry. She was crying because she'd been caught. I need you to leave, I said. This is my house, too. Not anymore. Elena's lawyer is filing papers this afternoon. Adultery, financial fraud, theft of marital assets. You can fight it, but the evidence is overwhelming. You can't take my children away from me. I'm not taking them away. You gave them away when you chose Troy Foster over your family. I left her crying on the couch and drove to Elena's apartment. She was waiting with a bottle of expensive whiskey and a legal document that would change everything. Divorce papers, she explained. My attorney is the best family lawyer in Austin. She specializes in high-asset divorces involving financial misconduct. And Troy? Criminal charges were filed an hour ago. Embezzlement, fraud, theft. Jake Morrison provided evidence of the missing business funds. Elena's smile was predatory. Troy's going to spend the next few years in prison, assuming he can afford a decent lawyer after paying restitution. What about his gym? Closed as of this morning. Bank foreclosure. Apparently Troy was using business loans to fund his lifestyle, not just our money. Elena poured 2 glasses of whiskey. He'll be bankrupt by the end of the month. We sat in silence for a while, drinking whiskey and watching Austin traffic through her apartment windows. The revenge was working exactly as Elena had planned. Marissa and Troy were facing financial ruin, criminal charges, and social humiliation. Their affair had cost them everything. "Do you feel better?" I asked. Elena considered the question seriously. "I feel satisfied. Justice has been served. They're facing consequences for their actions." "That's not the same as feeling better." "No," she agreed. "It's not, but it's enough." My phone rang. Sophie, calling from school. "Dad? Kids at school are saying weird things about Mom. Something about a video?" The real consequences were just beginning. 3 weeks after the Four Seasons incident, I sat in family court listening to Marissa's lawyer explain why his client deserved joint custody despite committing adultery and financial fraud. Judge Patricia Williams looked unimpressed. "Your Honor," the lawyer continued, "my client made personal mistakes, but that doesn't make her an unfit mother. The children need both parents in their lives." Judge Williams had been on the bench for 20 years and had a reputation for cutting through legal nonsense with surgical precision. She'd reviewed Elena's evidence, the financial records, and the testimony from both sides. Now she was ready to make decisions that would reshape our family permanently. "Mr. Talbot," she said, addressing me directly, "what custody arrangement are you seeking?" I stood up, feeling the weight of the moment. "Full physical custody, Your Honor. Supervised visitation for Mrs. Talbot until she completes financial counseling and addresses the trust issues created by her deception." "That's excessive," Marissa's lawyer objected. "My client has never been accused of neglecting or endangering the children." "She stole $50,000 from their college funds to pay for an extramarital affair," my attorney responded. "She committed tax fraud by writing off adultery expenses as business deductions. She lied to her husband and children for months while conducting a secret relationship. These actions demonstrate a pattern of deception that directly impacts her ability to provide a stable environment." Judge Williams reviewed the financial documents again. "Mrs. Talbot, do you dispute that you used joint marital assets to fund your relationship with Mr. Foster?" Marissa stood slowly. She'd lost weight over the past 3 weeks, and her expensive clothes hung loosely on her frame. "No, Your Honor, but I never intended to permanently deprive my family of those funds. Intention is irrelevant. You spent money that belonged to your children on another man. You falsified tax documents to hide the expenditures. You lied to your spouse about your whereabouts while conducting the affair." Judge Williams's voice was matter-of-fact. "These are not the actions of someone who prioritizes her children's welfare." "Your Honor, I love my daughters. I'm sure you do. But love isn't sufficient to overcome a demonstrated pattern of dishonesty and financial irresponsibility." Judge Williams made notes on her legal pad. "Mr. Talbot is awarded full physical custody. Mrs. Talbot will have supervised visitation every other weekend, pending completion of court-ordered counseling and full restitution of misappropriated funds." Marissa's face crumpled. Her lawyer put a hand on her shoulder, but she shrugged it off. Across the courtroom, I felt a mixture of relief and sadness. This was what I'd wanted, what Elena's plan had made possible, but victory felt hollow when it came at the expense of my children's relationship with their mother. "Furthermore," Judge Williams continued, "Mrs. Talbot's real estate license is suspended pending investigation by the Texas Real Estate Commission. She is prohibited from accessing any joint accounts until restitution is complete." The gavel came down with finality. 15 years of marriage officially ended. 2 children who would grow up in a broken home because their mother chose excitement over stability. Outside the courthouse, Elena was waiting by her car. She'd testified earlier about the financial evidence, her calm professionalism making Marissa's emotional outbursts look even worse by comparison. "How do you feel?" she asked. "Like I won a war I never wanted to fight." That's the nature of defensive victories. You didn't choose the battlefield, but you controlled how the battle was fought. Elena had been accepted to a cybersecurity position in Denver, a fresh start away from Austin's gossip and memories. Troy was serving 18 months in minimum security prison, his gym bankrupt, his reputation destroyed. Marissa was living in a small apartment near campus, working as a receptionist while she appealed her real estate license suspension. "What about you?" I asked. "Any regrets?" Elena considered the question with her usual analytical approach. "I regret that it was necessary. I regret that Troy chose deception over honesty, but I don't regret the consequences he's facing. And Marissa? Your wife made her choices. She prioritized short-term excitement over long-term stability. Now she's living with the results. We stood in the courthouse parking lot, two people who'd been brought together by betrayal and would now go their separate ways. Elena had been the perfect partner for revenge, methodical, ruthless, and completely focused on results. But she wasn't someone I could build a future with. Thank you, I said. For what? For showing me that I didn't have to be a victim. Elena smiled, the first genuinely warm expression I'd seen from her. You were never a victim, Owen. You were just married to someone who didn't deserve you. She drove away, leaving me alone with my thoughts and a custody agreement that gave me everything I'd asked for. That evening, I picked up Sophie and Mia from their after-school program. They'd been staying with my sister during the worst of the legal proceedings, shielded from the media attention and community gossip as much as possible. Dad? Sophie asked as we drove home. Is it true that Mom's not coming back? She'll still see you every other weekend, but she won't be living with us anymore? Because of what she did with that man? 12 years old, and she already understood more than she should have to. Because Mom made choices that hurt our family. Sometimes when people make those kinds of choices, they have to live with the consequences. I heard kids at school talking about a video. Some of Mom's business colleagues saw her with Troy Foster at a hotel. They took pictures and shared them on social media. I tried to keep my voice neutral, factual. It embarrassed Mom and caused problems for her job. Good, Mia said fiercely from the back seat. Mia, that's not... She lied to us, Dad. She said she was working, but she was with that man instead. She chose him over us. 9 years old, and she'd grasped the essential truth that Marissa's lawyers had spent hours trying to obscure. Children understood betrayal instinctively, without the rationalizations and excuses that adults use to soften harsh realities. You're allowed to be angry, I said, but you're also allowed to love her. She's still your mother, even though she made mistakes. Will you get married again? Sophie asked. I don't know, maybe someday, but not for a long time. Good, Mia said again. I like it being just us. That night, after the girls were asleep, I sat in my kitchen drinking coffee and reviewing the financial settlement. Elena's evidence had been so thorough that Marissa's lawyers had advised her to accept the terms rather than fight them. I kept the house, the savings accounts, and the girls' college funds. Marissa kept her car and her debts. My phone buzzed. Text from Travis. Heard about the court decision? Want to grab a beer? Rain check. Putting the girls to bed. You did the right thing, man. She made her choice. Travis was right, but that didn't make it easier. I'd spent 6 months planning and executing the perfect revenge, and now I had to figure out how to build a life from what remained. The house felt different without Marissa's presence. Quieter, but also more peaceful. No more mysterious phone calls, no more lies about working late, no more expensive purchases that couldn't be explained. Just me and the girls, figuring out how to be a family of 3 instead of 4. But Elena had been right about one thing. Justice had been served. Marissa and Troy had faced consequences for their actions. The affair that had cost them everything was now a cautionary tale that would follow them for years. And sometimes that had to be enough. 6 months after the divorce was finalized, I thought the drama was over. Marissa had moved to Houston for a fresh start, Troy was finishing his prison sentence, and Elena had built a new life in Denver. The girls and I had settled into a routine that felt stable, even comfortable. Then Marissa came back to Austin. She's been asking around about you, Linda Martinez told me over coffee. We developed an unlikely friendship based on our shared knowledge of Marissa's deception. Linda felt guilty about profiting from the scandal and had been surprisingly helpful during the custody proceedings. Asking what kind of questions? About your work schedule, the girls' school activities, whether you're dating anyone. Linda stirred sugar into her latte with unnecessary force. She's staying at the extended stay on I-35, driving a beat-up Honda. Whatever she's doing in Houston, it's not paying well. I wasn't surprised. Marissa's real estate license had been permanently revoked after the tax fraud investigation. Her reputation in the industry was toxic, and starting over in a new city without references or credibility was nearly impossible. Has she contacted Sophie or Mia? Not directly, but she's been asking their friends' parents about school events, soccer games, that kind of thing. The custody agreement was clear. Supervised visitation only, scheduled through the court system. Any unauthorized contact with the children was a violation that could result in her losing visitation rights entirely. I'll handle it, I said, but Marissa handled it first. Thursday afternoon, I got a call from Sophie's school. "Mr. Talbot, this is Principal Morrison. We have a situation." "What kind of situation?" "Your ex-wife is here. She's demanding to see Sophie and Mia, claiming there's a family emergency. She doesn't have proper documentation for pickup, and she's becoming agitated." I was 20 minutes away, finishing my shift at the hospital. "Don't let her take the girls. I'll be there as soon as possible." "We won't. But Mr. Talbot, she's causing a scene. Other parents are starting to notice." I called Elena from my truck, driving faster than I should have through Austin traffic. She answered on the second ring. "Owen, I thought we'd moved past the crisis calls. Marissa's back. She's at the girls' school right now, trying to take them without authorization. That violates the custody agreement. I know that. But she's desperate, and desperate people do stupid things." "What do you want me to do? I'm in Denver." "I need advice. Legal advice. If she takes the girls, what are my options?" "Call the police. File a kidnapping report. But Owen, try to de-escalate first. If this becomes a criminal matter, it'll traumatize Sophie and Mia more than it already has." Elena was right, but that didn't make the situation easier. I pulled into the school parking lot to find a crowd of parents and children gathered around the main entrance. In the center of the crowd, Marissa was arguing with Principal Morrison and two teachers. She looked terrible. Her hair was unwashed, her clothes wrinkled, and she had the desperate energy of someone who'd been living on caffeine and anxiety for weeks. When she saw me approaching, her expression shifted from desperation to anger. "Owen, finally. Tell them there's a family emergency. Tell them I need to take the girls." "What emergency?" "My mother. She's in the hospital. The girls need to see her." Marissa's mother had died 3 years ago. Either she was lying or the stress had affected her more severely than I'd realized. "Marissa, your mother passed away in 2019. You spoke at her funeral." The crowd went quiet. Even the children stopped talking, sensing the adult drama unfolding in front of them. "That's not—" Marissa stopped, confusion flickering across her face. "I meant my aunt. My aunt is in the hospital." "Which aunt?" "You know which aunt." I didn't know, because Marissa didn't have any living aunts. She was making up emergencies, grasping for any excuse that might give her access to Sophie and Mia. "Principal Morrison, could you bring the girls out here? They can see their mother, but they are not leaving school grounds." "Daddy?" Sophie appeared at the entrance, Mia close behind her. They looked scared, confused by the crowd and their mother's agitated state. "It's okay," I told them. "Mom wanted to see you, but there seems to be some confusion about the pickup arrangements." "I want to take them for ice cream," Marissa said, her voice too loud for the setting. "Just ice cream." "What's wrong with ice cream?" "Mom," Sophie said carefully, "you're supposed to call first. That's what the judge said." "The judge doesn't understand. I'm your mother. I should be able to see my own children whenever I want." The crowd was growing larger, parents pulling out phones to record the confrontation. This was exactly what Elena had warned against, a public scene that would traumatize the girls and provide gossip material for months. "Let's talk privately," I suggested, gesturing toward the parking lot. "No, I want my daughters. I want to take them home." "What home, Marissa?" "You're living in an extended stay motel." The words came out harsher than I'd intended, but they had the desired effect. Marissa stopped shouting and looked around at the crowd of parents and children watching her breakdown. "I'm getting my life back together," she said quietly. "I have a job interview next week, in Dallas. I could provide for them." "That's good. I'm glad you're working toward stability. But right now, you're violating a court order by being here." "I just want to see them." "Then call the court and schedule supervised visitation. Follow the process." Marissa looked at Sophie and Mia, who were standing close together near the school entrance. They looked like they wanted to comfort her but didn't know how. "Do you hate me?" she asked them. "We don't hate you, Mom," Sophie said, "but you scared us." "I would never hurt you." "You hurt Dad," Mia said with 9-year-old directness. "You hurt all of us." Marissa started crying then, not the manipulative tears she'd used during the divorce proceedings, but genuine grief for everything she'd lost. The career, the marriage, the daily relationship with her children, all sacrificed for 6 months of excitement with Troy Foster. "I know," she whispered. "I know I hurt everyone. I just don't know how to fix it." "You can't fix it," I said, not unkindly. "But you can stop making it worse. Go back to Houston, get your life stable, follow the custody agreement, prove that you can be trusted again. And then? And then maybe we can talk about modifying the visitation schedule, but not like this, not with public scenes and made-up emergencies." Principal Morrison had called the police as a precaution, and I could see a patrol car pulling into the parking lot. Marissa saw it too and looked panicked. "I'm not going to have you arrested," I told her, "but you need to leave, now." She nodded, wiping her eyes with the back of her hand. "Can I hug them goodbye?" I looked at Sophie and Mia, letting them decide. They walked over to their mother slowly, accepting brief hugs that looked more like condolences than affection. "I love you both," Marissa said. "I know I messed up, but I love you." "We love you too, Mom," Sophie replied. "But you need to get better first." Marissa walked to her Honda without looking back. The crowd of parents dispersed slowly, already crafting the story they'd tell their spouses over dinner. The drama of the Talbot family would provide entertainment for weeks. "Are you okay?" I asked the girls. "She looked sick," Mia observed. "Not sick exactly, but not healthy either." Sophie had inherited her mother's perceptiveness, but she used it more kindly. "Do you think she'll get better?" "I hope so, for her sake and for yours." That evening, Elena called from Denver. "I heard about the school incident. Linda Martinez posted about it on Facebook." "Of course she did." "How are the girls handling it?" "Better than I expected. They're resilient." I was sitting in my kitchen, the same place where I'd first discovered Marissa's affair, but seeing their mother like that was hard. Addiction does that. Not just drug addiction to drama, to being the center of attention. Marissa's been the focus of scandal for months. Normal life probably feels boring by comparison. "You think that's what this was? Attention-seeking?" "Partly, but also genuine desperation. She's lost everything that defined her identity, the career, the marriage, the social status. She's trying to hold on to the only thing left. The girls. The girls. But she's going about it in exactly the wrong way." Elena was right, as usual. Marissa's approach was counterproductive, damaging her relationship with Sophie and Mia while reinforcing everyone's perception that she was unstable. "What happens now?" "Now you document everything. The unauthorized school visit, the false emergency claims, the public scene. If she violates the custody agreement again, you'll have grounds to terminate visitation entirely." "I don't want to do that." "You might not have a choice. Sometimes protecting your children means protecting them from their other parent." 3 weeks later, Marissa called from Dallas. She'd gotten the job she mentioned. Administrative assistant at a small law firm. Barely above minimum wage, but legitimate work. "I'm sorry about the school thing," she said. "I wasn't thinking clearly." "Are you thinking clearly now?" "Clearer. I'm seeing a counselor. Court-ordered, but it's actually helping." "That's good." "Owen, I know I can't undo what I did. The affair, the lying, the money. But I want to try to be a better mother to Sophie and Mia." "Then prove it. Follow the custody agreement. Build a stable life. Show them that you can be trusted." "Will you give me that chance?" I thought about Elena's methodical revenge, the systematic destruction of Marissa's life, the public humiliation that had followed her for months. Justice had been served, but justice wasn't the same as healing. "I'll give you the chance to earn it," I said. 6 months later, Marissa had kept her job, completed her counseling, and followed the custody agreement without deviation. She was living in a small apartment in Dallas, driving the same beat-up Honda, but she seemed more stable than she'd been since the affair started. The girls visited her every other weekend now, unsupervised. They came back with stories about cooking dinner together, watching movies, doing homework at Marissa's kitchen table, normal activities that rebuilt trust slowly, one weekend at a time. "She's different," Sophie told me after one visit. "Quieter, she listens more." "Do you like the new version?" "I think so. She's not as fun as she used to be, but she's more real." Real. That was exactly what Marissa had been missing during her affair: authenticity, genuine connection, the ability to be present instead of performing. Elena and I still exchanged occasional emails, updates on our respective new lives. She'd found someone in Denver, a fellow cybersecurity expert who appreciated her analytical mind and direct communication style. I was dating a nurse from the hospital, someone who understood the demands of emergency medicine and didn't mind that I came with 2 daughters and a complicated history. Troy Foster had been released from prison and moved to Oklahoma, where his brother owned a construction company. He'd lost everything: the gym, the car, the flashy lifestyle that had attracted Marissa in the first place. According to mutual acquaintances, he was working construction, living in a trailer, and keeping a low profile. The revenge Elena and I had orchestrated had been complete, devastating, and entirely justified. But revenge, I'd learned, was a short-term solution to a long-term problem. The real work came afterward: rebuilding trust, establishing new routines, learning to forgive without forgetting. "Dad?" Mia asked one evening as I was tucking her into bed. Do you think Mom will ever move back to Austin? I don't know. Would you want her to? Maybe. If she stayed the way she is now, the real way. The real way? Not pretending to be someone she's not. Not lying about where she's going or what she's doing. At 9 years old, Mia understood something that had taken me months to figure out. Authenticity was more valuable than excitement. Truth more important than performance. I think she's learning that too, I said. Good, because I like real better than fake. So did I. The affair had destroyed my marriage, but it had also revealed who Marissa really was beneath the designer clothes and professional success. And more importantly, it had shown me who I was. Not just the steady, reliable paramedic, but someone capable of fighting for what mattered. Elena's revenge had given me justice, but building a new life with my daughters had given me something better. Peace. 3 years after the Four Seasons incident, I ran into Linda Martinez at a coffee shop downtown. She was with a client, showing properties on her tablet, still profiting from Austin's booming real estate market. Owen, how are the girls? Good. Sophie's in high school now. Mia's starting middle school. And Marissa? Still in Dallas. Still following the custody agreement. She's actually doing well. Linda looked disappointed, as if she'd been hoping for more drama to share with her social media followers. That's good, she said without much conviction. It is good. The girls need their mother to be stable, even if she's not exciting. I left Linda to her client meeting and walked back to my truck. Austin traffic was heavy, as always, but I wasn't in a hurry. The girls were at school, I had the afternoon off, and life was predictably, comfortably routine. My phone buzzed. Text from Sophie. Dad, can Mia and I stay after school for soccer practice? Coach says we're both improving. I typed back, of course, I'll pick you up at 5. Simple communication, honest and direct. No hidden meanings, no secret agendas, no lies disguised as convenience. Elena had been right about one thing. Some people deserved the consequences of their choices, but she'd been wrong about something else. Revenge wasn't the end of the story. It was just the clearing away of lies so that truth could grow in their place. And sometimes that was the most devastating victory of all.